Laptop computer spins onto the screen, opens, and displays ATP Education Program webinar series, closes, and then spins off the screen.
Supports for students transitioning to higher ed. So when we talk about the supports that students will need in higher ed, it's those same issues that they may have had in high school with executive functioning. So what we want to do is before they even get to the university level, to start getting them used to some of those compensatory tools or those support tools that will help them be successful when they get into the college or university, or maybe it's a 2-year program that they're going to get into. But they need to have those supports to make them successful. Currently, about 11% of students, college students in the U.S. report having a disability. However, many of the disability services offices have a lot less students that will actually elect to get services through disability services. So that's why it's even more important to prepare the students with those skills, with those apps that will allow them to be successful when they get to the university. So we're really looking at what are those tools we can provide students to prepare them to be successful when they get into higher ed. And it's really important that they start out really on the right foot when they get to the university. Rather than struggling through that first semester or that second semester. If they have these tools in place, they're going to have a much better chance of being successful because they have these compensatory tools. One of the first things you want to take a look at is what are some of the built-in solutions that are in your mobile devices. A majority of either our Slate devices or iPads or our phones, whether they be iPhones or Android devices, really have a lot of built-in solutions that can support our students when they get to the university. The ability to have text-to-speech, so your text can be read back to you. So if you have a student who's a struggling reader or a non-reader or has difficulty decoding specific words, that text-to-speech will help the text being read back to them. Support for captioning. A lot of students who turn on captioning are not deaf and hard of hearing, but are using the captioning for cognitive supports. Also, they may get into a class where we have a teacher who is a non-native speaking American who is difficult to understand. Captioning will really help the student to be able to read the information as it's being read and better understand the teacher. There are built-in screen readers for persons who are blind or have low vision. There are other supports also. The ability to use like speech recognition and dictation to be able to dictate and write your papers and those types of things, and using the text-to-speech to review it. One of the other really nice solutions that are available is support for third-party keyboards, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So when we talk about third-party keyboards came out several operating systems ago that allowed us to be able to use keyboards other than the traditional keyboard that Apple has. So we can get those support keyboards, supports for grammar, support for spelling, all different types of supports. So there's some really nice third-party keyboard that will support our students that are transitioning. There's Flesky, dyslexia keyboard for students who may have dyslexia, have a hard time seeing some of those the different types of letters. You'll see when you do a dyslexia keyboard, it will do some weighting of the letters, so it's a little bit easier to see. Phonetic keyboards for those students that spell phonetically. It will correct the phonetics on it. Grammar keyboards, Grammarly and Ginger are some really nice third-party keyboards. So I'll just show you where you're going to find that. So if you go to the settings, if you go into settings, you would expect that you would find these supports in accessibility. However, they're just a general keyboard. So if you go into settings and you go into general, and you're going to tap on keyboards, and once you're in keyboards, you'll see that there are a bunch of different options for your keyboards. On the top, you're going to see that there are keyboards, and it has 4 of them that are loaded. I had loaded a couple of them up. To add keyboards, all you have to do is toward the bottom, you'll see add a new keyboard, and you'll see there are a whole bunch of different keyboards from third parties that I already have. So example, if I wanted to add the dyslexia keyboard, forgot it, I'll tap on that, and now you'll notice that it's popped up in my list of keyboards. The other option that you're going to see is allowing full access. And what that means is there's some features, whether it's text to speech or it goes out and finds some information that will make the keyboard more effective. You want to allow full access. However, when you turn on full access the first time, you're going to get this message saying that the developer of this keyboard has the ability to transmit anything that I've typed, including previously typed with this keyboard. This can include insensitive information such as credit card numbers or street address. Do you want to allow it and don't? A lot of people freak out about this, but basically what it is it allows the keyboard to collect information to make it more efficient and more effective. If you want to find out what information is collected, if you go into the App Store and you'll tap in toward the bottom of the information or the bottom of the information for that screen, you'll be able to see what kind of information that they collect. So when I go into, because I've loaded that third-party keyboard, on the bottom left-hand corner, you're going to see where there's a little world icon. If I tap on that and hold it, you'll see all of those different keyboards that I can select and choose from. So if I want to go to my dyslexia keyboard, I will select my dyslexia keyboard, and it's going to have some of that word prediction in there. The other thing I can do is if I tap on that world icon again, it'll actually change keyboards by just tapping on it. So you notice when I go through and tap on these, it's actually cycling through those different keyboards. If I want to get back to my specific keyboard, I can tap and hold on that world, and I can go back into my different keyboards or select some customizations if I want to be able to do that. So just keep on tapping on that and get between the different keyboards. There's my Grammarly keyboard, and go back here again, and now I can tap on here and get back to my English keyboard if I want to. So that's how you're going to flip between keyboards and supports. The less I have, of course, the less it's going to jump through there. Once I select the keyboard, it will stay there until I go through and change that. So continuing on. The nice thing about supports for students is there are a lot of apps that are supported by using an Apple Watch and different types of watches that will sync up. So any type of a schedule you might need, reminders to those will pop up and be available. If I need to record a lecture, there's like a just press record, calculators, all those supports that a student might need to be successful at the university can be used through the watch or in conjunction with a watch and a mobile device. Another powerful feature that students can use is what's called optical character recognition. And what optical character recognition is a technology that scans printed material onto a computer or mobile device and converts it into digital text. So a worksheet, it may be text from a book, whatever it is. If I need to have it in a digital format, OCR will allow me to do that. Once it's in a digital format, it allows me to do things like to have it spoken. To control the speed of what is spoken. It'll also allow me to be able to change the text size, bring in different fonts if I need dyslexia fonts, but it really allows me to be able to manipulate that text into a way that is best for me to learn. So there's a lot of nice OCR apps out there, and these are in your handouts. One of my favorite ones is Prismo, and the other one is Voice Dream Scanner, and I'll just show you how that works. So let's go into Prismo once, and let me go back so you can actually just see what this looks like. We'll close that, and let's close that again. And I've already scanned it in, but you can see there's a camera on here, so I can scan documents in on a fly if I need to be able to do that. I've scanned some in already, so we don't have to go through that process because we just don't have time. So here's a document here. I'm going to rotate it to get rid of the scanning. You can see that it didn't get scanned in perfectly. You'll see the lighting wasn't optimal. I can do some adjustments on the screen if I want to, but it looks pretty good at this point. So on the top of the screen, I'm looking at it as an image. If I press on text, I can tap on the recognize text, and it will convert it over to the text, and you'll see the text on the other side. I can export this out and utilize and manipulate it however I want. On the bottom of the screen, Prismo does have a reader view. So if I tap on the reader on the bottom right-hand corner, it'll bring up this view, and I can hit the play button.
Martin Luther King, Jr. Martin Luther King, Jr. was a social activist and Baptist minister who played a key role in the American Civil Rights Movement.
So I can change the voice on here. I can change the way the font looks. I can change the speed and those types of things. But now it's in a digital format, so I can use it wherever I want. Continuing on, there are a lot of nice reading supports out there. Claro PDF, Prismo, Prismo Go, a lot of really nice supports for putting my document, once I get that text into an alternate format, a format that will make sense for me as a student. One of the ones that I like is called Voice Dream Reader, and I'll show you that really quickly. I would scan that document in and send it over to Voice Dream Reader. And let's bring up voice here. Okay, so you'll notice that, let's go out here again and let's bring up the original layout. So this was a book cover that I had scanned in. This is what we call a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. I can actually have it read, so it would look like if whatever I scanned it in as.
Campbell explores these questions in the concluding essay, The Way of Art, in which he demonstrates that metaphor is.
Okay, so it's going to read it and it's going to show it how it looks in the actual document. But if I tap on the other upper right hand corner on the couple double A's, I can take a look at it as plain text. So this is what it would look like. I can have it read.
Campbell explores these questions in the.
Okay, I can change the background colors, the foreground colors, the font. You'll notice I have the dyslexia font in here. The other thing that I like about this is the ability to be able to shade out certain areas and by tapping on my screen, and it's only going to show one line at a time.
Campbell explores these questions in the concluding essay, The Way.
So if the students have some sort of a issue such as dyslexia where they have a hard time differentiating between the different lines, you can actually use that feature also. So note-taking supports. There's really a lot of nice note-taking apps out there to give students the ability to be able to take notes and also record lectures at the same time, take screen snaps of what's on the screen. We really push a lot of students to do note-taking and to be able to efficiently take notes. However, sometimes it's difficult for students to take notes on their devices or to take efficient notes and still listen to the lecture. So there's a category of note-taking apps called audio note-taking apps. And what these audio note-taking apps allow you to do is to record the lecture, but also take notes at the same time. And then it will timestamp those lectures or those notes so they correspond with when it was recorded during the lecture. So one of my favorite ones is called Audio Note, and we'll bring that up and just give you a good demo real quickly. And here's Audio Note 2. This was one that I've done earlier, so I recorded the lecture. You'll notice on the left-hand side, I took some brief notes, and you'll see there's a timestamp. So that's when during the lecture that note was taken. And all I have to do when I want to go to that section is tap on that word. So an example is we'll just press start here.
Little time code that sits on the side saying that 11 seconds you need to do the dissection.
I tap on that. So if I have an illustration where I
Okay.
page,
so at 30
tap on that,
and we're showing a picture.
And we'll jump to that spot in the lecture. I can export this off as an audio file. I can export the PDFs off. I can export the whole audio note program if somebody else has the audio note program, and I can share it with the class. So these audio notes are really, really nice features for students to be able to take notes just very briefly and then go back and review what was the lecture in the classroom. There are some really nice organizational apps for students to be able to organize their homework. This is probably one of the biggest issues that we run into with students. They come in and they don't know how to organize their work. They don't know how to prioritize their work. They get behind, they forget assignments and those types of things. So setting a student up with those skills to be able to organize and to get their information into a format. The nice thing about when they're on mobile devices, you're going to get alarms when you're going to need them. A lot of really nice organizational apps out there. The one that I use and I recommend a lot is called iStudies Pro. And iStudies Pro is a great app. Let's go, hold on. There we go. So iStudies Pro, you'll take a look at it. I can take a look on my whole weekly view of what I need to do, when my classes are. I can take a look on daily, what are some of the assignments, what is the schedule that I need to be able to do. If I do look at my assignments, I can look at what assignments currently I need to do and what priority it is, which ones I need to get done, and what days they need to get done. I can actually look at due dates when things are due. I can also look at by course if I want to. And if I go to my planner, I can actually set out my whole entire semester with that. So really powerful tool with organizational apps. Hearing apps, these are the apps that will provide live captioning. Ava and Otter AI are really nice apps for that. And then Microsoft Translator is a free one that will do that captioning, live captioning. Again, the success rate for those is not super great if you're using it for deaf and hard of hearing, but it's nice to be able to get some sort of a transcript with that. And then these are just some of the apps that you can do for captioning. So that you have a lot of options for providing supports for students.
Thank you for watching. For more information on the ATP Education Program, please visit our website at atp.nebraska.gov/education or email us at atp.education@nebraska.gov.